In a dramatic shift within the global trade landscape, President Donald Trump has announced a temporary reduction in tariffs for over 75 countries while simultaneously ramping up duties on Chinese goods to a staggering 145%. This mixed approach comes amid rising tensions and market reactions following Trump's recent tariff policies, which have sparked widespread debates on their economic implications. On April 10, 2025, stocks witnessed a downward trajectory after a brief surge following Trump's announcement of a 90-day tariff reprieve for many trading partners that had refrained from retaliatory measures. Despite this, a base tariff of 10% will continue to apply to most U.S. trading partners, while tariffs on Chinese imports have reached unprecedented levels. The European Union (EU) has temporarily paused its own countermeasures, expressing a desire to negotiate with the Trump administration. But China's hardline stance remains unchanged as it vows to retaliate against the U.S. tariffs. During a cabinet meeting, Trump acknowledged that his economic policies might incur transition problems, yet he remained optimistic, stating, "There'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end it's going to be a beautiful thing." This sentiment reflects his belief that the tariffs are a necessary step to reclaim manufacturing and industrial production in the U.S. The political landscape is also shifting, with House Republicans adopting a budget blueprint aimed at advancing Trump's policy agenda despite concerns from some conservative members about the level of cuts. The vote, narrowly passed at 216 to 214, underscores the ongoing divisions within the party as they navigate the complexities of Trump's controversial trade policies. In a noteworthy development, China has doubled down on its own retaliatory measures, imposing steep tariffs of 84% on U.S. goods. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has labeled the U.S. as a 21st-century barbarian, criticizing Trump's aggressive tariff strategy as an attempt to strangle global trade. Public sentiment in China appears to be rallying behind the government's firm stance as many citizens express frustration towards the U.S. while supporting Beijing's resolve to retaliate. Meanwhile, Democratic senators are probing potential insider trading allegations linked to the timing of Trump's tariff reversal, signaling increasing scrutiny over the administration's economic decisions. They have demanded transparency regarding whether any administration officials had prior knowledge of the tariff changes that influenced market movements. As nations around the globe assess their economic strategies in light of the U.S. tariffs, the White House has indicated a willingness to prioritize trade deals with countries in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly those bordering China. This strategy aims to strengthen economic ties with nations such as Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam, which are seen as crucial partners amid the shifting trade dynamics. The unfolding scenario raises critical questions about the future of U.S. China relations and the broader implications of Trump's tariffs on the global economy. As markets react and nations reconsider their trade approaches, the potential for a significant economic downturn looms large. The coming months will be pivotal in determining whether Trump's policies will ultimately lead to a more favorable trade environment or exacerbate tensions further, leaving both U.S. consumers and international partners to navigate the uncertain terrain ahead. As the trade landscape between the United States and China continues to shift dramatically, the world watches with bated breath as the two superpowers head toward what many experts are calling a monumental split. The escalating tensions, characterized by an unprecedented series of tariff hikes, threaten not only the economic stability of the two nations but also the delicate balance of the global economy. In a whirlwind of tariff increases over the past week, President Donald Trump has raised levies on Chinese imports to a staggering 145%, a massive escalation from previous rates that have already strained relations. This latest increase follows China's own retaliatory measures, which lifted its tariffs on U.S. goods to 84%. Such aggressive actions have led many analysts to fear an impending economic divorce between the world's two largest economies, one that could reverberate across global markets. Orville Schell, the Arthur Ross director of the Center on U.S. China Relations at Asia Society, captured the sentiment surrounding these escalating tensions, stating, "We are approaching a monumental train wreck breakup. The fabric that we so carefully had woven together over the last several decades is ripping apart. This sentiment is echoed by many economists who warn that the ramifications of such a split could lead to recession not only in the US but globally, as billions of dollars in trade hang in the balance. Historically, the U.S. China relationship has been symbiotic, with American companies benefiting from China's manufacturing capabilities while China has enjoyed access to a vast market of American consumers. The interdependence of these economies has been crucial in shaping the global marketplace over the past 2 decades. However, as China's rise to global power continues unabated, the U.S. has grown increasingly wary of its reliance on Chinese manufacturing, particularly in critical technology sectors. The recent tariff spikes have prompted immediate reactions from businesses on both sides of the Pacific. U.S. companies are scrambling to adjust to the new realities of increased costs and supply chain disruptions. For instance, John K. Thomas, who runs GLA Agricultural Electronics, shared his struggle to maintain his customer base in China as tariffs shot up to 84%, effectively pricing his products out of the market. "At 84%, we are completely shut out," he lamented. Meanwhile, in China, sellers on e-commerce platforms like Shein and Temu are raising prices by as much as 70% in response to U.S. tariffs. Wang Xian, president of the Shenzhen Cross-Border E-Commerce Association, highlighted the dire situation, stating, "We are going through fire and water." Many Chinese manufacturers are exploring options to reroute goods through third countries to mitigate the impact of tariffs, although this is fraught with uncertainty. As the trade war escalates, the U.S. economy is not without its challenges. Economists are increasingly forecasting a potential recession, citing the likelihood of rising inflation and unemployment as the tariffs take their toll. Carl Weinberg, chief economist at High Frequency Economics, warned that the economy could already be in a downturn, predicting significant deterioration in the second quarter of 2025. The impact of the tariffs is magnified by the interconnectedness of global trade. As the U.S. imposes tariffs, other countries may be forced to choose sides, further complicating international trade dynamics. Stephen Oken, chief executive of APAC Advisors, expressed concern over this potential bifurcation, stating, "Are countries going to have to choose between the U.S. and China?" The uncertainty surrounding tariffs has led to volatility in global markets. Following Trump's announcement of the recent tariffs, U.S. stock indices plummeted, erasing gains from earlier in the week. The S&P 500 dropped by over 5%, reflecting investor fears about the economic fallout from the trade skirmish. In light of these developments, some experts urge for diplomatic engagement to avert a complete breakdown in relations. The Chinese government has signaled its willingness to negotiate, but insists that any discussions must be based on mutual respect and equality. "If you want to talk, the door is open, but the dialogue must be conducted on an equal footing," a spokesperson for China's Commerce Ministry stated. As the U.S. and China navigate these tumultuous waters, the trajectory of their relationship remains uncertain. What is clear, however, is that the repercussions of their actions will have lasting effects, shaping not only the economic landscape but also the geopolitical order for years to come. The world will be watching closely as both nations grapple with the consequences of their increasingly adversarial stance. In recent weeks, the escalating tensions between the United States and China have unfolded against a backdrop of heightened economic strife and military posturing, raising concerns about a prolonged conflict that could reshape global trade dynamics and security frameworks. As both nations engage in what has been described as a test of endurance, the implications for international relations and economic stability are profound. The trade war, marked by a series of aggressive tariffs imposed by both sides, has intensified, with experts warning that this escalation could evolve into a prolonged struggle that tests the resilience of both countries' economies. Prominent Chinese economists have characterized this situation as a high-stakes marathon, where the endurance of economic and industrial systems will be put to the test. The recent developments indicate that there is little prospect of a swift resolution, with back-channel diplomacy appearing increasingly ineffective in bridging the widening chasm between Washington and Beijing. Notably, many Chinese citizens have expressed a mixture of support and concern regarding their government's response to U.S. tariffs. While there is an underlying worry about the economic fallout, a significant portion of the populace has rallied behind the government's assertive stance. "Bring it on, Trump, we're ready," some citizens have reportedly declared, reflecting a sentiment of resilience in the face of adversity. This public support may embolden Beijing to continue its hardline policies, further complicating any potential negotiations aimed at resolving the trade disputes. Amid these economic tensions, the Pentagon has announced an increase in the U.S. military budget to unprecedented levels, a move that underscores the strategic importance of the Indo-Pacific region. As China enhances its military capabilities, the U.S. Department of Defense has highlighted the growing threat posed by China's military buildup, which poses significant risks to regional security. The implications of this military expansion are far-reaching, potentially destabilizing existing alliances and prompting a recalibration of military strategies among neighboring countries. As this geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, the potential for further escalation looms large. With both nations entrenched in their positions, the path to de-escalation appears fraught with challenges. Analysts suggest that without a concerted effort to revive diplomatic channels, the situation may spiral into a more severe economic and military confrontation. Looking ahead, the trajectory of U.S. China relations will likely hinge on the ability of both governments to navigate this complex web of economic and military interests. The coming months may prove critical as each side assesses its strategies in light of domestic pressures and international expectations. As the world watches, the unfolding drama will not only determine the fate of the two largest economies but could also reshape the global order for years to come.